I'll make mine short because I'm not about to speak. But I supported Joe for his campaign. He did some things that I liked, especially term limits and all of this good stuff. But if he had told me that he put power in front of his name because he's going to get 20% of the vote, I wouldn't give him a nickel. You understand?
Okay, we've got a couple of presenters. I'm going to give y'all about 5 minutes each. Can you go next, and then we're going to...
You tell me what you want to present.
Okay. Let's see, we've got you and Neil about 5 minutes. Okay. You're gonna talk about the Republican Party and your experience. Just whatever you want to say. Once y'all get through presenting, I'm gonna bring. You're gonna present, and Trendy is gonna have about 5 minutes.
Go ahead and let me. I didn't plan to present.
Okay.
I thought maybe y'all would be telling you what you already asked.
Okay. I'd like to invite Wendy Scoggins-Craft to come up and speak to us for a few minutes because she's a stepsister of Steven Palazzo's wife, Lisa. And she's got some personal family information that I think some of you may not be aware of that I would like for y'all to hear. And after that, we're going to go into a few of the things that some of you may not know about that we've heard about Steven Palazzo. Like Sharon said, we didn't go looking for this information. It came to us, and we can't discount it. And I think it's something that if you're interested in hearing it, you can stay and hear it. If you're not interested in hearing it, then I question why you came in the first place. If you've got some other information to present about one of the candidates, we're going to have to go pretty quickly, but we'll be glad to listen to what you've got, as long as we keep it quick, because we're going to be running kind of late tonight, and they're going to be closing. So, Wendy, would you come up and speak to us for a few minutes? Or stay right there if you'd like to.
My name is Wendy Craft. You have to excuse me because I've been sick, so I don't have much of a voice. But I personally know Steven and have for about 15 years. He is married to my former stepsister. Currently, we are still fighting my dad's estate over 5 years, and Steven has constantly interjected himself into that estate, has had it held up in court. I actually have email correspondence between him and the secretary at the bank where my daddy had some loans, where he requested personal loan information from my dad and it was actually given to him. The purpose for him doing that was he wanted to buy the estate debt or loan Evan the money to pay it off, so he would have an equitable interest in the estate. He has since, in September, the 1st of September, sent me an email again asking were me and my sisters ready to sell, that it had been 5 years and nobody wanted to see it drag out another 5. So I do know, as far as his character, he doesn't have the integrity that he wants people to believe that he does. He wants to boast and brag about his Marine deployment overseas, but he's failed to mention his deployment he had with the Army National Guard, where he actually had my dad write letters to Gene Taylor to have his deployment deferred to Camp Shelby. And this is why he still maintained a full-time position with the Biloxi Housing Authority. And we come to Dad's on the weekends and talk about his ability to draw a full-time check from Biloxi, a full-time active duty check from the National Guard, and he had to show up about 2 days a week just to make an appearance, and got to drive the Biloxi Housing Authority vehicle back and forth to Camp Shelby from the coast. And so these are things that I know personally, that I witnessed personally, that I dealt with on a regular basis. So, I mean, I do, the integrity that he wants to present, it's just not there.
Wendy, how much land is in the estate?
There is 635 acres in the estate. Edna has laid claim to 80 acres of it where the house was that was burned.
What happened to the house?
It was burned in February of last year. I have spoken to the fire marshal in Jackson who said that local fire officials refused to investigate because Edna's son-in-law was some big shot and nobody wanted to get involved. So he did not investigate fires anymore. His name was Ken Caraway. He said he had to come from Jackson to investigate the fire, and it was unquestionably arson. We have still to this day been unable to obtain a copy of the fire report. Just after Steven announced his candidacy to run, you could call Jackson, and for the longest, they would say, what fire report?
How many years were they married?
Daddy and Edna were married, they married in 1988, and he died in 1995. I mean, 2005, I'm sorry, 1998 to 2005.
20 years?
Yes.
What caused his death?
He was a prostate cancer. He had had it for numerous years. He'd had it 10 plus years.
I heard that there was mesothelioma.
No, that was my grandfather. He was receiving a settlement from my grandfather's estate for him having some asbestos issues. Now, Edna, my stepmother, has continued to cash asbestos checks written to my dad, but that has nothing to do with Stephen unless he is now currently the accountant for the estate, and that has not been accounted for to my knowledge. I went 2 weeks ago and had the entire estate files copied, and there's no mention of it anywhere in there. There's quite a bit of money that is unaccounted for.
I have a question. Prior to your obvious disagreement with the estate, did you feel the same way about him? Or
I've never trusted him.
Okay, and why was that?
Just personal reasons.
Oh, you don't-
No, not anything that I care to elaborate on, no.
So you're going to be bringing family business into politics?
Actually, no, someone contacted me and asked me about it, so no, I'm not bringing anything. Someone asked me and I said, yes,
So if
that
they were
is
here, they
true.
could probably be saying a lot of stuff about you too?
Absolutely, if they
He's
want
not
to.
running for office.
I'm not running for office, that's exactly
It
right.
doesn't matter, it's
But, I mean,
personal.
and I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't say in front of them. He could come stand right here in front of me and I'd say, yes, Stephen, you are. And if you want to take a look at the emails, I've got them in my back pocket and I'll be glad to show them to you.
Well, I think what we're trying to show. I've known Steven since me and my wife's been married 10 years, almost 10 years. This is to show a character base of the man that we're trying to elect to a position, okay? He's saying on TV that he's a Marine, he's not a coward, he's not a liar, he's not anything, he's not a name caller. This is a character issue. The 912 project is supposed to be based on character. We want somebody who's going to support what we support, morals, character, our values, and Steven Palazzo is not that man. And we need to see some of the things in his life. That's what we look at. Gene Taylor, Joe Taggardine, we look at their life away from the camera to see what their character is. And if their character isn't the same at their house in the backyard, we don't want them supporting us in Washington, D.C., or I don't.
Well, I don't know that you're going to know what goes on in Taylor's backyard.
Well, but I'm saying, you know people, we can ask people, as Joe said, you can find out anything you want from different people. Well, that's true, but we know how Steven Palazzo votes in Mississippi. He voted for eminent domain twice.
We're trying to put him in Washington, not Mississippi.
Well, I don't want him in Mississippi. I don't want him in Washington if he's going to support for the government to have more rights over our land in Mississippi. What's he going to do when he gets to Washington and he's got all these people pushing his buttons?
I didn't quite understand what she's talking about, or about Gene Taylor and your father. Can you explain more about that?
Steve, my dad and Gene had a long relationship, and he asked Daddy if he could write letters, call Gene's office, and have Gene write letters to have his deployment deferred to Camp Shelby because he did not want to go back overseas.
Steve did that?
Yes.
And your dad helped him do that?
Yes, my daddy called Gene
And Gene
Taylor's
Taylor
office.
helped him not go
Yes.
overseas?
Yes, Gene Taylor wrote letters and had Stephen's stuff deployed.
So both of them are guilty of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely, my daddy was, yeah, no, I'm not.
No, I'm talking Gene Taylor is
Yes,
just guilty.
but Gene Taylor will not release that information, even if it does help his campaign. And trust me, I was not, when Joe was running, I was tickled to death to know that there was finally somebody having to vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm tired of voting for the lesser of two evils, but Gene, to me, obviously is the lesser of two evils, yes.
What we're gonna do is put the Democrat back in there.
It's not
They far
Republican,
everything we're
Democrat.
supposed to be again. They far everything we're supposed to
That's
be.
not correct. If you look at his record, he has voted for many things we support. He's not the best candidate.
Well,
Okay.
let's talk one at a time, please.
Okay, Ms. Coggins, can you please?
Kraft.
Can you please tell us what property Steven owns in Greene County right now?
He
Is it
owns a
related?
40-acre block in the middle of my dad's property that he purchased, I think about a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, I'm not certain on the time of that. It's that International Paper had owned before. They come in 10 years ago or more, probably longer than that, still longer than that. Come in years ago, Daddy allowed them to cross the land because there's no legal easement there. He allowed them to cross the land, they come in, they cut it, and mess the roads and stuff up pretty bad and come back and fix it. He told them they could plant it by helicopter because they weren't coming back across his. So Steven actually does own a tiny 40-acre block in the middle of that property.
So that property is related to your estate?
No, it is
That
not.
estate?
No. The estate property completely surrounds it, but
Okay.
are made on 3 sides, I'm not 3 sides. But no, it is not included in the estate property at all.